Present the colors.
Forward! March! Left! Left! Color guard! Hold! Left! Face! Preset! Colors!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance that so many gave so much for to this flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads, let's pray. Father, first of all, we thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your steadfast love, and your kindness over our lives and this nation. Lord, we lift up each and every troop. We lift up each and every man and woman, and we thank you that your blessing, your favor, and your protection is over every one of them. We lift up our first responders. We thank you for people that when things go wrong, run toward the danger and not away from the danger. We thank you that when we were in a very bad and dangerous situation, Jesus, you left heaven and ran toward us. We thank you that you continue to run toward us. You continue to bless this nation. Jesus, you are Lord over the United States of America. You are Lord over each one of us. And we are grateful for you, and we are thankful for everything you have done for us. We bless you, we honor you, and give you praise. And if you agree with that, say amen.
Amen. Order! Colors! Right! Face! Forward! March!
Make sure you yell out real loud, Ernie and Ray, so that we can take that and then Ernie can watch it when she gets it over to him. Okay, cool? All right, so let's go. I'm not a good singer.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, good Ray. Happy birthday to you.
Florida is awesome. out to see Ernie quite frequently. She sends me pictures and updates on how he's doing, and it's really great. You know, he flew 76 missions over Europe in World War II. Imagine, 76 missions. That's crazy, crazy. So, yeah, 104. Yep. So that's our birthday boys right there. I forget about this slide. And Ray is one of our two that served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. So my hat's off to him. He's doing great back there. And I'm sure he'll share his cake. All right, so moving on. Y'all see the room's really full today, right? Woo! Boy, I'll tell you, we're busting out of the seams. So, RSVPs, are they important? Why, yes, they are. So, and you guys have seen this before. Who has to RSVP? Everybody, right? Because a body in the building is a body in the building. Whether you eat, you don't eat, you volunteer, whatever. Everybody needs to RSVP so we don't go over the number of people we're allowed to have in the building itself. In the event we do have an emergency, there's an exit over here, there's an exit over here, and there's an exit over here. They'll all get you out of the building, and there's also one through the kitchen. So in the event of an emergency, that's where you want to go. If you need the restroom, go out into the lobby over here, and the restrooms are out there. There's a handicap stall over here. Please leave that free for our handicap folks. And if you can't get to those, you can come out this door over here, go up the elevator, and upstairs there's restrooms. So that's where those are. So RSVP, you go out to the website and you click a couple of buttons and you're done. And this is going to become very evident why this is really important coming up. Okay? So those are all the reasons. So my suggestions, one, if you're on your computer, save it as a favorite, the roll call webpage. roll-call.org. Save it as a favorite, so you just go there, homepage, lower part, below the picture of the mission statement, you'll see the little blue button. It says RSVP, looks like that. Click it. It's going to ask you for your first name, your last name. It's going to ask you if you're a veteran, yes or no. It's going to ask you if you wish to volunteer. If you are not a volunteer for the luncheons, don't click that one, just leave it alone. You don't even need to touch it. If you're a volunteer for the lunch, you can click yes, and then we'll know you're coming. And then the last one will be, is this your first time or not? You answer that, then you click submit. That takes about 3 seconds. It's pretty easy. Now, why is that important? Because guess where we're going in April? We're going back to the base in April. So, I met with the skipper a couple of times already. And he's got so many great ideas. He wants to make it bigger and better. And it's just going to be amazing. We're going to combine a little with the Fort Worth Civic Leaders. And they're going to present some recognition to a few folks that work there on base. So the skipper's planning on bringing out a couple hundred of base personnel. We're anticipating somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people. So, very important. Okay, so when will the RSVPs open, typically? So you don't even have to wait on me to email you. They will usually open the second week of the month. And I think I put it in here in March. We're going to open it on the 6th. So the window will open on the 6th. It'll close the Friday before the lunch or when we hit capacity, whichever comes first. So once we hit capacity, we're at capacity, and then we can try to put people on a wait list, and usually we get about 20 or 30 cancellations, and then we substitute people in and out. Okay? For the April luncheon, we're going to open that window the day after the March luncheon. So March 25th. I need you all to RSVP as early as you can because I need to give the skipper preliminary numbers. We'll be able to take up to 800 people. Okay, but that means we have to get you on base if you can't get on base. So I'm going to ask you a couple additional questions on that one. So I'm going to ask you if you have base access already. So if you have an ID, you're retired, you're a veteran that's disabled, and you have base access that way. If you have base access for any reason, you just click yes, you have base access already. That's cool, I don't need to worry about you. If you tell me that you don't have base access, I make sure to put you on a list, and then they'll check you at the gate, and they'll get you in. We'll also have vehicles here. We'll take vans from here to the base. So it'll also ask you if you would like to ride from the church to the base in a van with us, and we will drive. You can park here, we'll load you up in the van, we'll take you to the base. Makes it a lot less trouble. We're going to ask that you not arrive there any earlier than about 9 or 9:30 because people showed up so early last time they weren't able to get everything set and ready to have you park on the ramp. And so we were parking in places they needed parking. Okay? So I'll go over that again some more in detail when I email you guys, but just wanted to get it out there. It's going to be a big one. He's going to try to get the 136 jazz band there. He's going to roll out the red carpet. He's going to bring static displays. He's going to make y'all that were there last year. Was that not the biggest cake you ever saw? Oh my goodness. So he's planning another cake. Brenda's already working on the food. So we got things rolling here. All right, so got it? Everybody gets it? Why it's important? Yeah. Good? Yes? Okay. Any questions for me on it? All right. A couple of other notes. We have recently had quite a few donations that we want to make sure that we're recognizing. Cross Timbers Rotary. Some of these are ones that Don went and spoke at. So Don spoke to the Cross Timbers Rotary, Cleburne Lions, Light Up to Live Foundation, and all of those folks make donations to roll call when Don was there speaking. We've also gotten donation from Rotary Club of Fort Worth and Owings Auto. So I don't know if you all remember Jeff Owings. He's been here a few lunches, and they consistently support roll call. I mean, incredibly generous donations. So if you are in the market for a used car, please go to Grand Prairie and see Jeff Owings at Owings Auto, because I'm telling you, they probably have already donated enough to pay for half the luncheons this year. So that's pretty significant. World War II veterans, where are you? Let me see your hands, World War II guys. All right. Recently by a young lady, World War II guys, listen up. I was contacted by a young lady, and they are going to recognize World War II vets on the floor of the Texas State Senate on May 11th. And they would like for us to bring as many of our World War II veterans as are able to go. So, if you are interested, I'm going to be contacting you shortly to find out, and then we'll work out arrangements to figure out how to get everybody down there. They're going to recognize you, they're going to feed you lunch, and then we'll get you home. So, World War II and your caregivers, your family members, whoever, we'll be reaching out on that. As well as David Huntley gave me some information on one that's a decoration available for those that served in a few battles over in Europe. Speaking of veterans and stories, some of y'all in this room have really great stories that we would probably love to hear. So I'm going to tell you two things. One, if you have a story, even if you're not sure anybody wants to hear it, which we probably do, please see this man right here in the cowboy hat, Mark, our vice president. Please see him. Stand up. Yeah, Mark doesn't like the limelight. He's going to kneel down over here. So Mark is the one that sets up our speakers. We would love to get you here to speak, and we are also looking for some speakers to speak for another church group, and you can, at that one, you don't get just 20 minutes, you get 30 to 45. So if you're a really long-winded speaker and you want someplace you can go for a longer time, I see Dr. Ron back there raising his hand. You let me know that you're interested in that also, and I'll get you hooked up on that, but I'll be sending that out on email. And if you haven't yet shared your story for your family, if you just want your family to have it, you want it recorded, see Chuck Hodge. And Chuck, raise your hand, Chuck. He's not paying any attention. Chuck, raise your hand. See Chuck, and he will get your story recorded. I can tell you that in the last year, we've had a couple of people reach out, families, said, hey, my My loved one passed away. We found a copy of a disc that was done, but it won't work. Can we get another one? And we're happy to pay for it. Chuck doesn't charge anything for it when he does it to begin with, and he won't charge a family when they ask for a copy. And he's mailed them directly to the family. They never come to us. They don't go anywhere else. They stay with the family.
Thank you, Chuck.
And so, speaking of speakers, we have had a little change in speakers because our speaker, Randy Nance, who is our amputee, who's a great guy, we had him on the Hometown Heroes show, he went skiing and fell and got injured, and so Jack Stowe is going to speak today, and Randy will be here next month. And a couple more last notes. Y'all know that Amazon Smile has gone away. So if you were donating to us through Amazon Smile by shopping there, because you know all you had to do is go shop, and then we got a cut of that. So Walmart's taking their place with Walmart Spark. You should have gotten this an email or a text or something from Jeff. They're taking that place, so if you go sign up every time you shop at Walmart, you're contributing a little bit to a lunch. $10 is all it takes to feed one of you guys, so every little bit helps. Doesn't cost you anything, you're already shopping. So if you're a Walmart shopper, please sign up, pick Roll Call as your organization. And lastly, Judy has 2 umbrellas in a to-go cup of some sort in the Lost and Found. 1 umbrella now? Okay, somebody claimed one. So she still has an umbrella in a cup somebody left. So when you leave at the end of the day, if you forget something, check with Judy the next lunch. Okay? Got it? Cool. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mark now.
All right, speaking of Chuck Hodge, I have an interview here for Clyde Wyatt. Where's Clyde? He's supposed to be here today. Clyde Wyatt. All right, Chuck, I think you're taking this back home with you. We can hang on to it till next month. Whichever, your call. Okay. So where am I at here? Let's see. All right, we lost another one of our veterans. I got a call from my friend Dave Clark last month. When George Hanson passed away. George, a retired Air Force, put a lot of years into the Air Force. And I didn't know George well, but I didn't know him. I'd see his face and he'd come up. He's a low-key guy, but he'd come up and shake your hand and say hi. Been coming to roll call for some time. Now we have funeral services for Carmen Giese coming up March 27th, 3 p.m. at DFW National Cemetery. And most of y'all are familiar with how the funerals go there. It's 15 minutes to get on time, run you through, and that's that. But Carmen's family, that's all they're going to do for a memorial service. And they put on the obituary to send donations to roll call, which, you know, the Carmen loved us. All right, so back in November, Jack Stowe was going to be my speaker. He got sick. We rescheduled him for March. Now Randy got hurt, so I called Jack up a few days ago and said, hey, you know, you just got bumped up, buddy. And Jack's a good guy. He was in the Navy in World War II, shipped out to the Solomon Islands. Any of you Marines, I'm sure, have heard of Guadalcanal. He could see the canal across the bay. And pretty much every story that Jack has told me ends up with, y'all had a good deal, but I messed that one up. And you're about to hear his story, because it is a good one. So Jack, how about you ease on up here, and I'll see if I can get you up on stage without either one of us getting embarrassed. Help me out. Comfy?
Oh, yeah. First I want to say I appreciate all y'all coming out to hear me this morning.
We don't have a lot of stage up here, so don't fall off. No, Jack, if we went and fell off this stage, we'd look like a couple of drunks probably. We haven't been drinking. It's going to be hard for me to look up here and see where we're at. This is your microphone. Remember what I told you. Keep it close to your mouth, and if not, I'll slap you and get you to, so you know why.
Okay, Lord.
Everybody hear me a little bit? All right, so Jack grew up here in Fort Worth. His father was a blacksmith up north in Denton County around Ponder. And y'all moved to Fort Worth when you were a kid?
Yeah, 1934.
Okay, Don, okay. This is as loud as this microphone will go. Well, if you didn't lose your hearing aid, then you probably didn't. Don lost his one hearing aid recently, and went back and found it had already been stepped on. And that explains because we don't speak loud enough. So anyhow, you're raised up in Fort Worth, and Pearl Harbor came along, and you were only how old?
15. Working in a grocery store when I heard about it. And so I decided, well, at that time I was getting in a lot of trouble. The boys I run with, some of us getting sent to reformatory, and Mother and Dad was about tired of it. And it was either to go to the reformatory, looked like, or go to the Navy. And the Navy looked good to me. I always liked the water. So when I was 15 in the low 9th grade, back then it was low 9th, high 9th. I was in the low 9th, and I quit school and joined the Navy when I was 15 years old.
And of course your parents signed for you.
Yeah, you could get in when you were 17 with your parents' permission. You couldn't go where you could get in when you were 15. I falsified a document and changed the date, took it to a secretary, and she whited out the 1928, put 1926. I mean 1926 and put 1928 down there. So I was born in 26, but she wrote 1928. And the funny thing about it was, after I went to the recruiting office and got through all of it, I was in the Navy. The guy said, if there's any more at home like you, set them up here. But it was only 4 months after the war started. I joined in April. So it was only 4 months after the war started. It just started. So they were just about taking anybody that could walk and get up there for recruiting office. Couldn't take them. So a lot of different ones went in when they were 15.
So you went off to boot camp and went through training, and what did they start training you as?
Well, I went to boot camp. One of the first things they'd done, they took us all into a big auditorium and gave us a battery of tests, a lot of tests. And one of them was on the Morse code. We had 100 letters that we had to identify with the Morse code. And I got about 90 out of the 100. So I'm sure they said, this guy might be a good radio man. Not so. So they sent me to school at an armory in Los Angeles. It also was an armor training school and a Signal Corps school. There you had to learn how to type because the words come in on your ears and you go to the typewriter. So you had to learn how to type. Well, the typewriter didn't have any letters on it. You had a book over here with the layout of the typewriter, and you had to look at the book. They was teaching you to type without looking at what you were typing. And but I quit school in the 9th grade, so I didn't have a lot of education. And so when the words would come in, those that were good at spelling and everything, first 2 or 3 letters, they'd know what the word was and they could put it out. I'd have to wait till they spelled the whole word before I could do. So I wasn't doing any good, and I didn't join the Navy to go to school anyway. I joined the Navy to go over there and fight them jacks. You know, that's what I joined the Navy for. So I kept messing up, getting in trouble. So they finally decided that that wasn't for me. And met another guy named Young. They washed him out at the same time. They sent us to the San Pedro Naval Prison. Down in San Pedro, they had a naval prison. We weren't actually prisoners, but they used it as a holding facility. Kind of like you see these shows, Dirty Dozen and all that. They held us there to make up a group. And they finally got enough in there to make up a group called Acorn Red 4. That's what I ended up in, is Acorn Red 4. Then they sent us from there to Oakland, California. And we were preparing then to go over to we didn't know where we were going, but we had to go through commando training and break down machine guns and put them back together and change the barrels on 20 millimeters. Had to go through all of that. But the time I spent in Los Angeles, we had a couple of girlfriends. And a couple of girlfriends, so we had a guy named Young. We had the weekend leave, so we went to Los Angeles. Went by to see the 2 girlfriends, and they was out with 2 Coast Guard guys. So I stuck around, waiting for them to come home. The other guy left, and then they came in with the 2 Coast Guard. And there was a little bit going on there, but the girls told the Coast Guard guys to leave, and they'd get rid of me. Well, I knew them 2 guys were going to be waiting down there and beat me up. I was going to get beat up. I was 16 by this time. I won't go into what I did, but anyway, them guys didn't beat me up. They were fixing to get hurt bad. And so then we went back and got ready to ship out. So when I went back, we stayed over the hill 5 days. And AOL, absent without leave. Not AWL, but absent without leave. AOL, absent over leave. AOL, absent over leave. So we stayed on about 5 days. And at night, we sleep in the USO. They had cots that you could sleep in. Well, every night, the SP, Shore Patrol, boy, the Shore Patrol would come by and check dog tags, because they had a list of who was AOL, AWL. They sent some people by my house to talk to my mother and dad and see if I come home. So when we'd see the Shore Patrol coming there checking the dog tags, me and Young, we'd get out on the floor and crawl over to the bathroom and get in the bathroom and go to the stall and stand on the stool. So if they looked under there, they couldn't see our feet. Eventually, we went back and turned ourselves in because we knew we were fixing to move sail and you don't want to miss a ship. So they took us to what they call Captain's Mast, which is a low form of cord. And I got 5 days to break bread and water. You got 3 slices of bread and a glass of water, 3 times a day. In solitary confinement, the cell was about 4 foot wide, 8 foot deep, 8 foot high. Didn't have no windows, nothing in there. Concrete floor. At night, they bring you a little pallet mat about that thick to lay on. They had a smoking lamp lit twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. I didn't smoke, but them guys that smoked, it was real hard on them because if they did cell checks, you never knew when. But if they found any kind of paraphernalia in there, anything, you got 10 days added to your sentence. So got out of there and then got ready to sail.
I see you laughing about that brick time, Don. Why don't you ever tell your brick story? You know something about that, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, so you shipped out to the South Pacific.
South Pacific.
You crossed the equator.
Yeah, we didn't know it, but this time we knew we were headed for the Solomon Islands, Guadalcanal, Talagi, in that area, in 1943.
So when you cross the equator, most everyone in here knows about the shellback initiation. And you tried to get out of that.
Yeah, they doubled the submarine lookout waters, so they doubled the submarine lookouts around it. Me and another guy was on the fantail. Well, shellbacks come by and said, "Y'all been through the initiation?" Well, I said, "Yeah, man, it sure was rough. I've never been through anything like that before." Well, he jerked my hat off And I hadn't had a haircut in about a week or two, I mean about 2 or 3 months, and the hair blew everywhere. Well, after you went through that thing, you didn't have no hair left. So they put in everybody on the ship, all pollywogs. There's only 2 classes in the Navy, pollywogs and shellbacks. Pollywogs are low farmer marine life. The shellback, he's a member of King Neptune's Corps. It's supposed to show him I'm due a lot of respect because I'm a shellback. So we went through you had to go 14-2 court. All the shellbacks got a subpoena. The subpoena was whatever charge you got, and mine was undue sack time. So you go up there and they say, how do you plead? You say, I plead not guilty. They read the charge and ask you how you plead. I plead not guilty. They say, well, we found you guilty. Says, you can kiss my bride. And they got an old grizzly looking guy there with a veil on. And nobody gonna kiss that thing. So they said, well, if you do that or suffer the consequences. So we suffered the consequences. They had that thing, put your head down and put that thing across you. The guy's in front of you, he got some chopped shears, and he chops your hair all off, as much as they can. They jerk your drawers down, they paint your rear end with some kind of concoction that they've got, and then they pick you up and throw you in a tank of water. Well, about a week before you get to the equator, those shellbacks are making paddles out of 1x4s, about 2 foot, 3 foot long, and they carve a handle on them, and they line up 2 on each side, and we call it a hot tail line. And you got to run through that thing while they're swinging them paddles at you, and that's the end of the initiation.
So you actually got a certificate that's put in your military record, and you put this certificate in a bamboo tube.
Is that picture up there now of that shellback certificate?
Yes, sir.
That shellback certificate was given to me in January 1943 when I crossed the equator in January 1943. One of the islands I went in on, I cut that bamboo pole down, that piece of bamboo, and I rolled that certificate up and put in that piece of bamboo. And it preserved that document. The color is good, you can see the color is good, it's all legible, it's not brittle. When I was about 75, I gave it to my son. I didn't know I was going to live to be 96. So I gave it to him. He took it and he put it in that picture frame and gave it back to me. And this kind of a conversational piece, when we show it, they want to know what the connection is between the document and the... But it stayed in there for about 60 years before we put it in that frame. He had it put in that frame and gave it back to me. And he'll get it when I pass away, whenever that is.
Long time from now.
All
right, so you got to the Solomon Islands, and so you were across the bay from Guadalcanal on Florida.
Yeah, we were in what's called Florida Islands. I mentioned Guadalcanal because hardly anybody ever heard of the Florida Islands. But there's only about 15 miles across from Guadalcanal. And Tulagi was about 4 miles from me. And we used to sit in the air raids. We got a lot of air raids. But a lot of times they were false. The planes were really coming over to hit Tulagi or to hit Henderson Field on Guadalcanal. The Japs held 2 islands about 60 miles from us. They still held the Gilberts and the Russells. So we get a lot of airplanes from them. Sometimes they'd fly over us, we'd get a condition red, but we wouldn't get a bombing because those targets was Tulagi or Guadalcanal.
What was that stretch of water between you and Guadalcanal?
They called that stretch of water On-Bottom Bay or On-Bottom Sounds. So many ships were sunk there that they named it On-Bottom Bay or On-Bottom Sounds. I was there in 1943 when there weren't many deep harbors over there. It's called Coral Sea. A lot of them you can't get into the islands on account of the coral. But Tulagi has a deep harbor, and the cruisers, big ships could pull into Tulagi. One time in 1943, the ships were coming in, and a submarine, Japanese submarine, come in under them. They have submarine nets. They lower and open. All those big bays, they have submarine nets that goes across. So they had to drop the submarine net to let the ships in. The Jap came in there, and we heard they sunk 7, but I've read history since it said they sunk 5. Either 5 or 7. They sunk a lot of ships.
So the air raid took out y'all's ammo dump on the other side of the island from you, right?
Do what?
The ammo dump.
Oh, yeah, we had a big, on one of our bombings, one of the worst ones, I guess. they hit our ammunition dump. And I don't know how many men it killed. 2 guys were gunner mate. They stayed there. That was where they stayed, is in the ammunition dump. It burnt them real bad. It burnt them real bad. Blowed one guy's leg off. But I was on the other end of the line. And the guy wrote a book that up here spoke a few months ago. He wrote a book called Damn Luck. A lot of that stuff is just luck. I happened to be on the other end of the island, so that bombing didn't affect me at all. But it burnt for 3 days. So then they made a pontoon barge, and these pontoon barges are made out of cylinders, I'll call them, that you can hook together, and you can make a barge as big as you want. And they leave a section out in the back to put a long shaft motor on to move it. They loaded all that ammunition on one of those barges. We'll get to the story, but I got out of the Navy, I was a cook, but I wasn't always a cook. At this time, I was what they call a bow hook. I worked on the boats, coxswain and a bow hook. We had that coxswain and a bow hook. We moved that load of ammunition out into, anchored it right off an island called Tamambogo. And we sit out there on it all night and then bring it back in the next morning. But we only done it about 2 or 3, 4 times, and then they took it over to a deserted island and unloaded it over there because they didn't want it to get hit on our island again.
Well, tell me, so you'd watch the PT boats pull out?
If you see that show, PT Boat 109, about Kennedy, that was at Tulagi, which is 4 miles from where we were. And that show was pretty realistic. They come roaring out of there. I mean, they make a lot of noise when they're running full throttle. And they'd be going on runs there in our bottom sounds or wherever they went and come back. So we used to watch them on those runs, pulling out and going back and forth on that.
Okay, so we're going to circle around to your bow hook story like you said, but right now you went in when you were 15. You never drove a vehicle, did you?
Oh yeah, well, the first job I had was working in a warehouse, and we were loading a truck, a 2.5-ton Studebaker truck, and it was all closed in. And he got a picture of a truck, but ours was closed in. And we loaded that truck up, and the guy running the warehouse said, "Jack, get in there and take it up to the hospital." The hospital was up in the hills, because all the bombings were down along the beach. It wasn't up in the hills, because there really wasn't nothing up there. But they put the hospital up there. He said, "Take that load up to the hospital." I said, "I don't want to drive." I was 16. I said, "I don't want to drive. I've never been behind a wheel." He said, "Well, get in that driver's seat." He said, "There's a gear pattern on top of that transmission. Just follow that gear pattern." Okay. I thought, going, and I got up to 3rd gear, and I'm going up this hill toward the hospital. But this road is just cut through the jungle with a bulldozer going up the side of that hill. Well, I get about halfway up that hill. I had it in 3rd gear. I had 5 forward, but I got 3. I got about halfway up that hill, and things started stalling. Well, I had enough sense to know it probably need a lower gear. So I took it out of 3rd and put it in neutral, and that was it. By that time, the thing started floating back down the hill. And all I got was rear view mirrors looking over the hill. So we finally got down to the bottom of the hill. And I put it in Grandma. I went up that hill, back, all the way back to the warehouse with Grandma. I told them what happened. They said, "Well, you got a double clutching." I said, "What's double clutching?" You truck drivers, y'all know what double clutching is. They said, "You got a double clutching." I said, "What's double clutching?" So they told it to me. And have you got a picture of me in that truck? You got that picture of me in that truck?
Yes, sir.
You
know what? I didn't know.
You didn't take that picture? I have a picture of me in that truck. I thought he had it, but
I messed up.
yeah, I have a picture of me in that truck, and I drove that thing in for about a month. Well, then after that, they gave me another job. I was a captain's orderly. I stood guard over the captain at night. He didn't know he had a 16-year-old standing guard over him. Well, he had a reefer box, a refrigerator, that you walk in a refrigerator, and he had all his goodies in there, his candy and Cokes and all that kind of stuff. So the way you pull the handle to go in, and it had a plunger that went out, and it hit the handle and opened the door. So I go in there and get some of these goodies, and push the plunger, and the plunger jumped over the handle. So I'm locked in that ice box. And I'm gonna suffocate, sure enough, I'm gonna suffocate in here. Well, they had the PO of the watch, petty officer of the watch, he comes by about every 20, 30 minutes, and he seen I wasn't there, and I looked over there and he seen that thing, so he let me out, and I got by, I got out of there. But then when I was standing guard there, one night a coconut fell out of the palm tree and hit a Jeep on the hood of the Jeep, and I thought we was under attack. I didn't smoke, but I borrowed some cigarettes, and that guy come by and relieved me, and I smoked the rest of the cigarettes that night.
All right, so you were, I got the picture of the boat up there. You were put on the bow hook.
Yeah, later on, then they put me as a bow hook. On a boat, you got the coxswain and a bow hook. On the boats, they have a pole that's about 15 foot long with a hook on the end of it. And when you come into, say, a gangplank, to kill the motor, you use that pole to reach up and grab the gangplank, pull the boat in. So it's called a bow hook. So one night, this is a true story. There was about 8 or 10. There was about 8 or 10 headhunters. These guys had bones in their nose, and bushy hair, had real red lips. And usually those red lips are a sign of a narcotic that they've got over there called beetle nut. And they have a string around them with a piece of bamboo about 6 inches long and a straw they dip down in that powder and they suck on it and it turns their lips red. It's a narcotic. All of them lips was red, and like I say, bones in their nose and bushy hair. We had to take them to the galley and get them fed, and then about midnight we had to take them back on the back side of our island because there's Japanese in there that we couldn't get out and they wouldn't surrender. So they sent these headhunters in there to get them. They carried another string with a little bag, a little leather bag on them, and they cut their ears off. When they killed one, they cut the ears off, put in that bag, and that's how they kept count, paid for the kill. We didn't go pick them up. I don't know who picked them up, but I read another book on those island, those wars, and they used headhunters there, the guy said, and he said they were the best jungle fighters there was those headhunters. And so that was fun.
I sure appreciate you coming up here. Glad you got home.
Yeah.
bless you.